I want to start this video by telling you something I wish someone had told me a long time ago. The most dangerous person you'll ever be with is not the one who shows up waving red flags. It's the one whose red flags look, feel, and sound exactly like the things you've always wanted. Today, we're talking about the red flags that disguise themselves as green ones, and why they're so much harder to see until it's too late. I want to start this video by telling you something I wish someone had told me a long time ago. The most dangerous person you'll ever encounter in love is not the one who shows up waving red flags. It's the one whose red flags look, feel, and sound exactly like the things you've always wanted. Because the obvious red flags, the cruelty, the disrespect, the clear dishonesty, most people can spot those. Most people, when they see them plainly, walk away. The flags that do the real damage are the ones that arrive disguised. The ones that feel like finally, like this is what I've been waiting for, like this person truly sees me. And by the time you see those flags for what they are, you're already deep in, already emotionally tangled, already rearranging your sense of what's normal around someone who was never safe to begin with. That's what today's video is about. We're going to walk through the red flags that most people mistake for green ones, not so you become cynical about love, not so you close yourself off, but so you can stay open with your eyes open. Because those two things are not contradictions. You can be warm and hopeful and also clear. And clarity, when it comes to who you let close, is the most protective thing you can have. Let's decode this. Before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my videos. The first red flag that looks like a green flag. They make you feel more special than anyone ever has, immediately. This one is called love bombing, and it is one of the most widely discussed patterns in relationship psychology, but still one of the hardest to recognize in the moment. Because in the moment, it doesn't feel like a tactic. It feels like a miracle. Here's what it looks like. In the early days, sometimes the early hours, this person pours attention on you. They text constantly. They call when they said they would, and then again just to hear your voice. They tell you they've never felt this way before. They make plans for the future with a confidence and specificity that feels like commitment. They tell you you're different. They tell you they've been waiting for someone like you. And all of it feels extraordinary, because it is extraordinary. You have never been treated like this before. And that's the thing. When someone treats you at a level significantly above what you've experienced before, the natural interpretation is, this is what real love feels like. I just hadn't found it yet. What it can actually mean is, this is someone who has learned that overwhelming people with affection early on creates a bond before that bond has been earned. A bond built not on genuine knowledge of each other, but on the intoxicating feeling of being chosen completely. Love bombing creates dependency. And once the intense attention begins to be withheld, once the warmth becomes intermittent, unpredictable, the person on the receiving end is already working to get back to that early feeling, already asking themselves what changed, already trying to be enough again for someone who was never showing them real love. They were showing them a preview used as a tool. The distinction between love bombing and genuine early intensity is this. Real connection, even when it moves quickly, tracks with actual knowledge of each other. The person is interested in who you are, not just in the idea of you. They make room for your complexity, your contradictions, your off days. Love bombing tends to be about a feeling the other person is manufacturing in themselves and in you, not about genuinely seeing you. It is broad and bright and overwhelming. Real love, even early, has texture. It listens, it adjusts, it sees. The second red flag that looks like a green flag. Their jealousy makes you feel wanted. Early in a connection, a little jealousy can feel like evidence of care. It can feel flattering. If they get a little quiet when you mention someone else, if they seem to need some reassurance when you're spending time with other people, that can read as they're invested, they care, They don't want to lose me. And sometimes, in a very limited and contained form, that's true. A slight vulnerability when a partner feels uncertain is a human thing. It is not inherently a problem. The problem is when that jealousy becomes a pattern, when it stops being occasional and starts being constant, when it becomes a quiet pressure applied to your social life, your friendships, your independence, when it shows up as surveillance dressed as concern, when checking in becomes checking up, when wanting to know where you are starts to feel less like love and more like monitoring. Jealousy that functions as control almost never announces itself as control. It announces itself as love, as devotion, as not being able to bear the thought of losing you. And in the beginning, before the pattern is fully established, it is genuinely difficult to tell the two apart because they feel identical from the inside. Here is the distinction to hold on to. Love expands your world. Control shrinks it. A partner who loves you wants you to have a full life, friends, interests, independence, space. A partner who controls you, even while calling it love, will slowly and systematically reduce all of those things. The reduction is usually gradual enough that by the time you notice, the world has already gotten significantly smaller. The third red flag that looks like a green flag. They always have a perfect explanation. This one requires some nuance because there is nothing inherently wrong with someone being able to explain their behavior. Healthy communication requires exactly that, the ability to say, here's what happened, here's what I was thinking, here's why I acted that way. That's not a red flag. That's emotional maturity. The red flag version looks different. It looks like someone who always has an explanation ready. Before you've finished expressing how something made you feel, they already have a full account of why what happened wasn't what it looked like, why your interpretation is incorrect, and often, subtly or not so subtly, why the way you're responding says something concerning about you. This is called DARVO: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. And it is one of the most effective emotional manipulation tactics that exists, precisely because it mimics healthy communications so closely. It uses the language of reasonableness to shut down legitimate concern. It is articulate. It is calm. It makes you feel like the irrational one for raising the issue in the first place. Over time, this pattern teaches you something dangerous. Don't bring things up. Because when you do, you leave the conversation more confused and more implicated than when you started. So you stop. You tell yourself it probably wasn't a big deal. You get smaller. And the person who always had the perfect explanation never has to change because they've made it structurally impossible for you to hold them accountable. A person who genuinely takes responsibility doesn't need to redirect every difficult conversation back to your flaws. They can sit with the discomfort of having caused harm without immediately dismantling your right to name it. That capacity, to be accountable without becoming defensive, is one of the most reliable green flags. The fourth red flag that looks like a green flag: the chemistry between you feels like nothing you've ever experienced. Now, I want to be careful here because I am not telling you that intense chemistry is always a warning sign. Real connection can feel electric. Real love can feel like it rewires you. That's not the problem. The problem is when what you're interpreting as chemistry is actually something else. The specific arousal that comes from unpredictability, from intermittent reinforcement, from the feeling of never quite being secure. Here's how the psychology works. When someone is consistently warm and available, you feel good, but stable, calm, safe. When someone is unpredictable, warm and then distant, attentive and then unavailable, wonderful and then cold, your nervous system spikes. You become hyper-aware of them. You think about them constantly. You feel something around them that is more intense than what you feel around the stable, available person. And your brain, in its desire to create a narrative, labels that intensity as extraordinary chemistry, as proof that this person is different. as evidence that this is the real thing. But that spike you're feeling is, in many cases, anxiety. It is the nervous system of someone who cannot quite settle, cannot quite feel secure, cannot quite predict what's coming next, and who has become physiologically addicted to the resolution of that tension whenever it briefly arrives. Real chemistry in a healthy relationship feels good, not just exciting, good. There is warmth in it, not just heat. There is ease underneath the intensity. You feel more like yourself around this person, not less. The connection makes you expand, not contract. If what you're experiencing feels more like craving than connection, more like needing relief than wanting to be close, that is worth paying attention to. The fifth red flag that looks like a green flag. They make you feel uniquely understood and uniquely responsible for their emotional state. This is perhaps the subtlest of all the flags we're covering today, because it begins with something that is genuinely beautiful. Someone seeing you, really seeing you, your depth, your complexity, the parts of you that most people miss or misread. That feeling of being truly known by another person is one of the most profound things human connection can offer. And when someone offers it early, it creates a bond that can feel unbreakable. But watch what gets attached to that feeling. Watch whether the person who makes you feel so deeply understood also gradually makes you responsible for their well-being. Whether their emotional state seems to hinge on your availability, your reassurance, your validation. Whether they express their pain in ways that make you feel like the solution and the cause. This pattern is sometimes called emotional coercive control, and it can look like someone whose lows are deeply connected to your behavior, even when your behavior is reasonable. Someone who expresses their need for you in ways that feel more like pressure than connection. Someone who makes it clear, directly or indirectly, that your independence, your time with friends, your focus on your own goals, your moments of not being entirely available causes them harm. The cruelty of this dynamic is that it weaponizes empathy. If you are a person who is sensitive to others' pain, and most people who find themselves in these situations are, you will feel genuinely responsible. You will shrink your life to reduce their suffering. You will interpret this as love, as loyalty, as the depth of your commitment, when it is actually a cage built from your own compassion. Someone who truly sees you and loves you will never use that knowledge to hold you in place. They will use it to set you free, to encourage you, to support you, to celebrate your wholeness. If someone's love for you consistently comes with a cost to your freedom, that is not love in the form it needs to be for a healthy life together. So how do you hold all of this without becoming closed off? Because I think that's the real fear underneath this conversation. If I learn to see these patterns, will I stop being able to trust anyone? Will I read every good thing as a warning? Will I be so vigilant that I'm never actually present? And I want to answer that directly. No. Learning to see clearly is not the same as becoming suspicious. Recognizing patterns is not the same as assuming the worst. You are not trying to build a wall. You are trying to develop discernment, the capacity to feel the difference between what is real and what is performed, between warmth that is genuine and warmth that is strategic, between intensity that builds something and intensity that consumes you. Discernment is not cynicism. Cynicism closes. Discernment opens, but selectively. It lets you stay fully, genuinely available to the people and connections that actually are safe, and it lets you step back, calmly and without drama, from the ones that aren't. The way you develop it is not by becoming harder. It is by becoming more honest with yourself, by taking seriously the small signals your body sends before your mind has caught up, the slight unease that you keep explaining away, the way you feel tired after certain interactions rather than energized, the sense that you are always slightly walking on eggshells, even when nothing specific has happened. Those signals are not paranoia. They are information, and you are allowed to act on.
5 red flags. 5 patterns that look,
feel, and sound like exactly what you've been hoping for. The love that overwhelms you before it knows you. The jealousy that calls itself devotion. The explanations that make you feel like the problem. The chemistry that is closer to anxiety than connection. And the understanding that slowly becomes a cage. None of these are easy to see in the moment. That is the entire point. If they were easy to see, they wouldn't work. They work because they target the best parts of you, your capacity for love, your hope, your desire to be truly known. And the only thing that makes you harder to fool is knowing that those parts of you can be targeted. Not so you hide them, not so you become guarded and small and unavailable, but so that you offer them carefully, to people who have earned them slowly, over time, through consistent and unglamorous behavior, through showing up when it's inconvenient, through accountability when they've caused harm, through love that expands your world rather than quietly contracting it. That kind of love exists. It is not as dramatic as what we've been describing today. It will not take your breath away in the first week, but it will still be there in the first year and the fifth. And that is worth so much more than the breathless, beautiful, dangerous thing we sometimes mistake for it. That's Love Decoded. Drop a comment below. Which of these flags have you experienced? You don't have to name names, just tell me the pattern. I read every single comment, and sometimes the most powerful thing is just knowing someone else has been there too. If this video helped you see something more clearly, subscribe. We release a new video every week that decodes the parts of love and attraction that most people never explain this honestly. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and I will see you in the next one.